This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. As we continue to listen, learn, and grow, we are amplifying Black voices and perspectives in an effort to start a new COVID-19 vaccine conversation. We're sharing stories intended to help us navigate this unprecedented time together and to co-create solutions in support of the Black community. Hear these stories at weconsiderwa.org.
Bro, gnarly.
What's up, Taylor?
Dude, that nerd in his electric hybrid totally blew the light while texting his yuppie friends.
That's so bogus, bro. Are you hurt?
Yeah, like I can't move my hips, bro. I think I broke my pelvis, man.
Dude, no way.
Taylor, you need to drop a dime and talk with the lawyers at the Advocates Law Firm.
No way, can't afford that, bro.
Your crotch is broken, man, and they don't earn any money unless they win your case.
Dude, no way.
You get injured, the advocates get results. Contact them today at advocateslaw.com.
What's up? It's your boy, The Ted Smith. Thanks for listening to the Men's Room Daily Podcast. Want more? Check out the greatest podcast in all the land, The Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and listen to a brand new episode every Tuesday night.
Unfortunately, what you're about to hear is real. The members of this radio program are simply not that bright, or what some people would call educated. They are merely stupid. They're not trying to offend anyone on purpose. And all have played doctors on TV. You have been warned and are cordially invited to join the party. This is the Men's Room.
Forget it, man, and get with the countdown. Get with the countdown. Shake this square world and blast off for Kicksville. The trippers, the grasshoppers, the hip ones, all gathered in secrecy and flying high as a kite.
This is the Men's Room with Miles and Thrill. You know what they say, shake your radio more than 3 times, and you're playing with it. You're listening to the Men's Room.
And away we go. Welcome to season 17, episode number 3696. Along with Steve the Thrill Hill, the Ted Smith, and Mike Hawk. And you are the Men's Room. On tap today, the return of Who Sucks Less. We will play Profile This. Plus headlines, a Men's Room shout of the day, fun with listener emails, and everyone's favorite, TV Time with Ted. Clack. Good drunk. All right, here we go. A bear rips into a family's tent to eat some dog food and gets put in permanent hibernation timeout. Meanwhile, a 4-year-old won't have any baby batter produced by his little tiny man spout. Sad story. Woman walks up to open casket at funeral home and drops a large loogie. One in Florida man jumps on jet ski and heads to Cuba to attempt to boogie. And 25 people attempt to walk on hot coals. That did not work out for any of them. And that is all coming on today's very special episode of The Men's Room.
And now, here's the question.
Hola, bitches. Good day to you and yours. Listen, you could be the valedictorian of your high school class, go on to an Ivy League school, double major in international economic policies and quantum theory, and my money still says that most of what you know, you did not learn in school. Living life, that is the single greatest teacher there is. Work, whatever your job may be, it'll definitely teach you secrets about whatever industry you got into that you didn't know before. And wouldn't you know it, we have 19 tips for everyone else about the places they work. And it includes everything from where to stand at a concert for the best sound, to why you should avoid restaurant ketchup, to why you might want to skip getting something out of the vending machine. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, we have a list of habits that people picked up in prison that they still practice today. One of the more notable habits is the quote-unquote courtesy flush. And to that person, I say, I don't know you, but I respect you deeply. There's actually a lot of interesting habits that these guys picked up, whether it's for their security, whether it's for their cleanliness, etc. But they said, look, I got out of jail, but I continue to do this thing because it's something that they learned there. By the way, the card game Spades comes up often. But look, there's a million things that we learn just by being alive. Maybe it's because you had kids or you had roommates. You learned it from cooking your own meal, from doing laundry, from driving on the roads, moving to different cities, moving to different countries, you name it. Everything in the end becomes a learning experience. And some of that stuff, man, you're going to retain to your dying day. And basically, that's what today's question is. We want to know What pro tip have you learned from life experiences?
Be part of the big show. Call 206-421-ROCK. You can like the Men's Room on Facebook, follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Men's Room Live, and send your emails to the Men's Room at KISW.com.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. When we think about the COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy in the Black community, let's remember, it didn't happen by chance. It's justified in history. But the will to change the narrative is strong today, and our people are lending their voices to the conversation. We're sharing our stories and the reasons that made us choose the vaccine so we can lead the way for others to make a well-informed choice too. To hear our stories, visit hereforuswa.org.
Oh, fiddlesticks!
What, Wilbur?
We just got hit and I think my back has all been out of shape.
You gotta talk with those whippersnappers at the Advocates Law Firm. They're the best injury lawyers around.
What? Pipe down, Clarence! Abner's telling me about the lawyers and the advocates. So what happened to you, Abner?
I was walking across the street with the light when some young punk came screeching around the corner. I lost a toe.
What? Shut it, Clarence! If you get injured, the advocates get results.
AdvocatesLaw.com.
Realtors abide by a code of ethics. This is Article 9 in action. Beth, a first-time homebuyer, knew nothing about the home buying process, except that she wanted to buy a home. But her realtor had the expertise to make sure Beth understood every document, even giving her copies to review with her lawyer so Beth could close on her first home with confidence. Complicated things explained in simple terms. The difference between an agent and a realtor is real. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
Hello, Discover here to explain our cash back match. Here's how it works. We give you cash back for using your Discover card on the things you were going to buy anyway. Then we match that cash back in your first year. And that's why we call it Cashback Match. Now to recap and say cashback one more time. We match all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year automatically. Discover. Exceptionally common sense. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
$20 million, $19 million, $6 million. These are all awards recovered for clients of Phillips Law Firm. To win big, you have to fight big. And Phillips Law has been fighting the too-big-to-fail insurance industry for decades. Not every case will have a multi-million-dollar outcome, but Phillips Law will fight just as hard to recover the outcome you deserve. If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident or on the job, call or click today at 1-800-JUSTICE or visit justiceforyou.com.
99.9 KISW.
All the Jones, away we go. Welcome to season 17, episode number 3696. What a large and in charge program we have for you today. Guaranteed future repeat, the exciting return of Who Sucks Less. Steve, I don't know how you do it. Somehow you find 3 stories of people doing bad crap in the news every week.
Sure.
It's amazing you can find 3, but you do, and then we pit them all up against each other, and out of the 3 stories, we try to figure out which one sucks the least. How are we looking on this week?
In one case, somebody made a mistake, but it's a pretty severe mistake. That's going to trouble a child probably for the rest of their life. There's a story of a breakup. The only problem with that is one person was unaware that they were breaking up. And then just a guy that we talked about briefly yesterday who, is using his poop for the purposes of evil.
I think I remember that story.
Yes.
That was the guy that went back into the gas station, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. And it didn't just defecate on the floor. According to them, defecated all over the floor.
And he's 51 years old, and he talked to his mom first.
Yeah.
She said he's in there.
That's exactly
He's
it.
right there. Also today, Men's Room Happy Hour, more Men's Room Monday through Friday as we do it at 6 o'clock exclusively on the Odyssey app. You get more Men's Room, episode number 187.
All right.
We've been doing this for quite some time. We've got a mission. We've got a goal. We've been doing this every day. The return of what you don't need to know. Coming up today on the Men's Room Happy Hour. If you do not have the Odyssey app, download it now. It's absolutely free.
Yeah.
There are hundreds of channels on there.
Thousands.
You name it. It's there for you.
We advertise all of them on this station.
Yeah, you can even listen to our show and our radio station. They'll do that. Go there and listen to all the other crap available,
right,
including the Men's Room Happy Hour channel, which you'll need to search for first. And that goes live at 6 o'clock Monday through Friday. So I'll keep in mind also, as it says on the banner there, explicit.
Yes.
So
yes.
That is a adults-only segment. So the same rules don't apply as they do here on KISW's airwaves. So a little bit different as far as the content is concerned. So keep that in mind. Today we're kind of talking about tips, things you've learned. A lot of these things aren't the biggest deals in the world, but they're certain things that people live by. And I think once you create habits in life, a lot of times you do things to make your life easier.
Correct.
And whatever that is, and we've got plenty of them from all kinds of different people who hold different professions as far as, hey, if you could just do this one thing, this really
make your life better.
This really will help us out, and make your life easier.
Sure.
So just to give you an idea, here's one. And this is from a Costco employee. We love Costco here. When shopping at Costco, place items in your cart with the barcode facing up. Cashiers can just scan it right in the cart. It's less for the employees to have to lift and move, and faster for everyone to get through the checkout line. So they can just go boom, boom, boom.
Makes sense.
Picking up boxes, spinning them around.
I'm pretty good about that. And I only do it. It's not to make their life easier. I'm glad it does, but because I'm so impatient.
Yeah.
It's like if I go to Home Depot or something like that, we have all these big-ass items. I go out of my way to make sure that code is facing up. And honest to God, because I don't feel like spending the extra 20 seconds being there. I want to get out of the store.
Sure.
And Costco is like the one place where they actively lean over and will scan.
Right.
Okay, so here's more from just grocery shopping, essentially. Okay, it says, I'm not sure if it was because I was a bagger for a couple of years, but I make sure to sort my groceries on the conveyor by frozen, produce, inedible, and unbaggable. In other words, if you buy a bottle of bleach, you don't want that bottle going in with your bunch of bananas.
Right.
Or the grapes you bought and try it out in the produce section before you bought them. So basically, he's got a helpful little list. Start with large items. Milk, soda, anything that they'll put underneath the cart or not be able to bag. Mm-hmm. So give them all the big stuff first. They'll put that underneath so there's more room. Everything that's cold to the touch goes together. That includes a gallon of milk, a frozen steak, anything that's cold. You put that, cheese, butter, meats, all together in one little section. So they can put that all in one bag. So you got a cold bag, basically. Everything that's not edible. Dish soap,
vegetables,
laundry detergent, candles, napkins, plates, etc. Put that in its own area. Bless you. Put your produce, vegetables, and fruit together. Mm-hmm. So they can do that separate. Whatever is left over besides the fragiles can usually go together. Fragile stuff goes at the back. So if you got a loaf of bread, what's the worst thing in the world? You come home and your bread is just completely crushed.
Yeah, half of it's just squished.
Because it just did not get bagged properly. So anything like eggs, bread, maybe you have even produce-wise, if it's romaine lettuce, head of romaine, anything that you don't want to get crushed, leave that at the very end. Bag of potato chips.
Yeah, it should be up top.
You get the idea.
Does anyone, I haven't been to a grocery store where they still bag your groceries in a while. And I only learned all this because a chick I was dating, like 30 years ago, we're leaving the grocery store. I don't remember what I was putting in the bag, but she laid me out right there. Why would you put that on the bottom? I'm like, no, I'm just bagging the groceries. And she's like, oh my God, right? So it's the whole, but it made sense. She was just bitchy about it, but take this gallon of milk, put that in the bottom. And I'm like, you know what?
It's kind of a Tetris
This
deal.
makes complete and absolute sense. I don't know why I never thought of it, but in her eyes, I was the dumbest mother effer that has ever walked the face of the planet.
I only do cold stuff first because when I was a kid, I just remember my mom doing it.
Well, I don't know that my parents had any, thinking back to going to the grocery store, my mom, I don't think she had any particular rhyme or reason. I mean, if it was in the cart, she puts it on the conveyor belt, that's it, and you let the bagger sort it out.
I get one bag of groceries a week. Typically, I'll just put the meat in my little handheld cart. They always take an extra little bag and wrap that meat up so it doesn't get on my vegetables and everything else. Because I don't necessarily put I just put the vegetables in the cart.
Sure.
I don't put individual bags on them. So just to keep that stuff separate.
Well, that's one thing. And I mean, most people know this. I don't know that people think about it, but just from cooking, one of the things when you put crap back in the fridge, you realize a lot of people love ground beef or something, right? Because they're going to make burgers coming up. But it's on the third shelf up. And I'm like, I'm not saying that it's bleeding, but if it starts dripping blood, man, it's going to land in your lettuce or whatever you have under it.
Right.
So I get on the kids about it. I'll say to my wife, put that crap on the bottom shelf, period.
Okay. We love coffee here in Seattle. Pro tip from the coffee world, from baristas. Okay? What would you think? Americano or drip coffee if you want to get a little bit more jump with your caffeine?
Oh, drip. Most people think it's espresso, but they're wrong.
No, it's not espresso at all.
Correct. That's exactly right. Now, you want to get really gunked up? Dark roast, right? No. It's actually light roast. So all these weird little things. The darker the coffee roast, the lower the caffeine content. So when you order strong coffee, it means basically nothing. Do you want it to taste strong or do you want it to have more caffeine? So if you want a stronger taste, then get darker coffee.
Right.
If you want more caffeine, you go light. And And by the way, your best bet is not espresso. It's regular light roast. An espresso is more concentrated, but you're drinking such a small amount that it doesn't matter based on the water content. A shot of espresso is essentially 1.15 ounces. A small coffee, most places, is 12. So I'll tell you what, man, when Steve and I got here for that little, we were getting interviewed for the job. They had Seattle's best coffee in the lobby of the hotel. You can get it any time of the day.
Sure.
I went down there to get a cup of coffee, man. I felt like I just did 4 rails in the bathroom. I'm shaking. I'm sweating. I got the butt sweats. I got a poop coming on like in 2 minutes. I could not believe the difference in the coffee.
Oh my, it's way different.
It was just,
way.
It was an ass kicker. I mean, I was like, wow, man, I got the
Well, the problem is now when I travel somewhere else to drink their coffee, it's like, did you add any coffee to this?
Well, it depends.
You know what I mean?
Like Mexico has great coffee.
But it tastes entirely different.
It does, but it seems like your spoon can kind of stand up, but it's very tasty.
Yeah.
Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee in the Caribbean is fantastic coffee. Dominican coffee is fantastic coffee. I think it depends on where you are, but I've never gone someplace and gone, well, the coffee here really sucks. For whatever reason, that's just never been a gripe of mine. Well, I've gone places like...
That's not true. What was that gas station we got that coffee from?
Ooh, that was bad. You're right.
I mean, like, that
you're
was...
Right. Okay, you're right. Yeah.
Seriously. I can't remember the gas station. We bought, like, big-ass cups of coffee. We needed it. And both of us, like, we took a sip and looking at each other like, does your coffee... Like, is this the worst cup of coffee you've ever had in your life? It's like, oh, yeah, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Coffee's a little bit like pizza, though.
We still drank it.
Right.
Yes.
Yep. Sometimes you're like, this pizza kind of sucks, but I'm still going to eat it.
Now, every sip, like, God, this is terrible. I want to keep drinking. Oh, I need it.
Now, I do it almost every day here at work with the free coffee.
You do.
You always go, how is it? I go, awful.
Yeah. Every day. You say, this terrible. It's terrible. It sucks. It's crap. But every day, the first thing you do is make a cup of coffee. And I'm like, dude, you don't even like it, and you don't have to.
Yeah. But I've seen the family truckster where people are on vacation, and the first thing you see, like when someone's unpacking the car to go to the hotel or, elevator with someone, I have seen people with 2 cases of bottled water. They're always prepared. They always get all the stuff they need. I am not the biggest bottled water drinker in the world, but my pro tip is as soon as I can get to a little convenience store in the hotel in Las Vegas, for some reason, I don't know what's going on in Las Vegas, they have the worst water in the world.
That is true.
But I always buy about 4 or 5 bottles of water. And it's good for hydration, first of all, because you're in Vegas. It's good to have those bottles in your room because when you wake up in the middle of the night going, what have I done? You have a bottle of water. Plus, just if you want to drink water, you need to drink bottled water in Vegas because it's not even classified, I don't believe, as water.
It's just the clear
liquid. And the water in your room is going to cost $20.
Yes.
That's one thing to teach the kids.
Exactly.
When we went to Toronto, again, just not even thinking about the fact the kids have never been in a hotel. They're super excited. They're looking at everything, but they open that mini fridge, and I'm like, stop! Seriously, man. I was like, don't touch those freaking M&Ms. Because the kids are like, what do they have? Reese's Cups, M&Ms, bottled water, and like 2 cans of Coke. And I said, listen, if you touch anything down there, Daddy's going to rip your arms off. If you want any of that stuff, let me know. I will go to the convenience store and buy it. I had to explain to them, look.
But it's right here.
I know that. And for the convenience of it being right there, it costs like 8 times. And I had to explain this to them. So I went down and I bought them all the candy, but they're kids, so they ate their candy. So by the last day we're there, I'm like, you know what, man? Let me just check that mini fridge. You know what I mean? All the M&Ms are gone. And I'm like, God damn it, man. It's going to show you. And look, it's not like you're going to go broke, but you just cannot believe, like, that pack of M&Ms you had was $7.50, man. So for 2 packs of M&Ms, Dad just dropped $15. Like, don't touch the stuff in the mini fridge. Don't even move it around. Nothing.
That's the other problem in Vegas. It's weighted.
If you lift it.
That's what I mean.
Right, if you even touch it.
That's why I told them, don't touch it.
It's the equivalent of playing checkers.
You don't even have
take
to
your
touch it
hand
sometimes.
off the piece.
Man, when my first time in Vegas, Ted and I actually roomed together, and if I'm not mistaken, when we checked out, there was charges on there for things that we actually didn't grab.
Yeah.
But you moved it.
Right.
Don't move it. That's why I told the kid, don't.
Right.
They thought I was going crazy.
You can touch the M&Ms on the top of the counter. that are in a little box.
If it's
Anything
in that fridge, I was like, don't touch it. You don't put your finger on it. Don't even look at it for longer than 15
Don't even think about it.
Right.
And you come in.
If you thought about it, I'm going to get charged.
And you come in at 11:30 at night, you're like, the hell.
I know. That's what happens.
Yeah, well, they're banking on drunk people and children.
And they're right. Because I was drunk and my kids were there. Right.
But seriously, it's a $5 Reese cup. Last time was for two, was $5.
Yeah.
The beer I had, I think, was $15 to $16 because I did this. A little can of mini Pringles was, I think, $5. I think all the snacks were $5 and above.
See, that's how they get you is the beer, right? Because I can resist whatever snacks, but then I'm like, man, the bar's closed. Yeah. I'm in the room, and I know there's 2 beers in there, and I know that beer is going to cost me $20. F it, I'm doing it. And then you regret it the next day.
Here's someone who filled vending machines. You brought this up earlier. I filled vending machines for 10 years. Everything is filthy. Apparently, they never clean the inside of a vending machine, which makes complete sense.
I'm not shocked.
My hands would be black after the first hour of unboxing and filling vending machines. The amount of times that I have found dead rats in their waste all over the soda and candy is unbelievable. Delivered that way from companies even. So it's already been rat infested. So always check the dates, they say. Which is one of the reasons why we would scream at employees here to not use the vending machine when they came into work, because we went through the COVID. It was a year and a half, 2 years. That stuff had not been changed.
None of it.
There were times when the power was out or it was unplugged. But there's orange juice in there. Cheeses. There's like little, freaking hard-boiled eggs in packages for a while, and things that, man, you do not want to know that the refrigerator was unplugged for a week.
No,
and then
it didn't
plugged
matter
back in.
what they were going to order. We were like,
stuff.
don't do. I'm just going to can a Coke. No, again,
like the little salami wrap things too.
Yes, same as a store that's very close to here. They had a pandemic was rough on them. They shut their doors for the most part.
Right.
Did you see those dates? It was not the pandemic that was the problem.
I think they were already
they were already bad.
They expired before the pandemic, Miles.
They were already there. They were already on the border. And basically the only things in that store that were not expired were the things that we buy on a regular basis that they had to restock.
Gatorade and cigarettes.
The person who owns the place would make sure
a couple energy drinks,
Utz chips,
to always have those things available, knowing that, well, you need to restock this. But everything else surrounding it, like every once in a while, you'd say, like, oh, I'm going to try something different, and don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that, because, I mean, how could cheese and crackers go bad? You know, like the little nabs, the little 6-pack of just peanut butter or cheese and crackers.
I got a sandwich out of there one day, and it tasted like a brick.
A sandwich?
Yeah. Like, I was like, I don't know how long this bread's been in this fridge.
Like in the little fridge there next to you. Check out
Oh, my God. Things a time capsule.
The one that's in saran wrap?
Yes.
Buddy.
I wouldn't even eat the peanut butter in there. I had like little Jif cups of peanut butter.
A brick.
Yeah. What pro tip have you learned from life experiences? 206-421-ROCK.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. When we think about the COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy in the Black community, let's remember, it didn't happen by chance. It's justified in history. But the will to change the narrative is strong today, and our people are lending their voices to the conversation. We're sharing our stories and the reasons that made us choose the vaccine so we can lead the way for others to make a well-informed choice too. To hear our stories, visit hereforuswa.org.
Oh, drat. I was driving along minding my own business when that vulgar leech hit my Beamer with his pickup truck. I fear I've fractured my clavicle.
I say, old boy, don't simply put it in the hands of your insurance company to sort it out. Talk with the dedicated row of solicitors at the Advocates Law Firm.
Pipe down, you old sod. The Advocates will see your case through to the bitter end and won't sleep a fortnight until they have victory in their grasp.
Jolly good, old man. Jolly good indeed.
You get injured, the Advocates get results. AdvocatesLaw.com.
Realtors abide by a code of ethics. This is Article 9 in action. Beth, a first-time homebuyer, knew nothing about the home buying process, except that she wanted to buy a home. But her realtor had the expertise to make sure Beth understood every document, even giving her copies to review with her lawyer so Beth could close on her first home with confidence. Complicated things explained in simple terms. The difference between an agent and a realtor is real. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
Hello, Discover here to explain our cash back match. Here's how it works. We give you cash back for using your Discover card on the things you were going to buy anyway. Then we match that cash back in your first year. And that's why we call it Cashback Match. Now to recap and say cashback one more time. We match all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year automatically. Discover. Exceptionally common sense. Learn more at discover.com/match. Limitations apply.
$20 million, $19 million, $6 million. These are all awards recovered for clients of Phillips Law Firm. To win big, you have to fight big. And Phillips Law has been fighting the too big to fail insurance industry for decades. Not every case will have a multi-million-dollar outcome, but Phillips Law will fight just as hard to recover the outcome you deserve. If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident or on the job, call or click today at 1-800-JUSTICE or visit justiceforyou.com.
99.9 KISW. The shenanigans continue. This is the Men's Room with Miles and Thrill.
What pro tip have you learned from life experience? 206-421-ROCK.
Got a couple comments here. It says, all the bitches, lifeguarding. I can still jump off the lifeguard tower into 12-foot deep pool, drag your sorry ass to the pool deck, give you CPR, and send you on your way. Those skills have been ingrained in my brain since I was 15 when I took my first lifeguarding class.
Mm-hmm. And even from the point of getting in the pool, the lifeguard leap. Yeah. So you keep your head, you can jump in the water, keep your head up so it doesn't go under, so you can see, who the person is, and, kind of, if they go under, you'll still be able to see where they went under.
Someone here says, pro life tip. I learned this from a plumber. Number 1, S rolls downhill, both literally and figuratively. Number 2, don't lick your fingers or chew your nails. Now, a lot of people say that.
As a plumber?
Yeah, as a plumber.
Why is this?
Because you work with poop.
Yeah. Oh, well,
so
okay, all right. I figure you wash your hands a lot in that profession.
They probably do, but like anything, you get absent, you know what I mean? But,
sure, okay. All right.
And
chew something on your finger.
Drains aren't good places. Even if it's your kitchen sink. Like, the drain's always gross.
I would say and people know this, but again, I had the experience of doing it, which is stupid and it sucks, but if you're cutting peppers, wash your hands, whatever else you plan on doing next. And I was just cutting either poblanos or jalapenos. Nothing too extreme, right? Cutting peppers, no big deal. Ran to the bathroom real quick. Did not give it another thought. Just went pee. Came back, and in about 30 seconds.
You probably washed your hand after you used the bathroom, but that's the wrong order.
After I used the bathroom, I did. Because, Miles, we're catering that day, and I'm back at my cutting board, man. You don't want to say anything at first, you know what I mean, because it's your privates, but I'm like, I feel like my penis is on fire, right? And then it keeps progressively getting worse. And then I realize, I didn't wash my hands before I grabbed my junk to pee dealing with these peppers. It is an amazing amount of pain. There's not much you can do. Milk helps. So, yes, I went to our walk-in, poured a little glass of milk, and dropped my D in it. And there's no way to go through life. But that said, should that happen to you, the milk does work.
Even just using knives in general in the kitchen. Yeah, there's so many different rules where, especially when my kids get in there, and I try to subtly teach them without being the dad that's looking over their shoulders. I just don't want to go to the ER. Yeah. And I don't want them to have to go to the ER one day either. So as far as like curling your nails in, if you're
very important, yes.
Always on the board, using the correct knife, keeping the tip of the knife for the most part always down on the board when you're cutting.
Yes.
There's all kinds of...
Right. It's like when I first started cooking, the first thing was how to hold the knife, right?
Like the tip of the knife never should leave the board.
Yeah.
It should always be on the board. And a lot of people don't know that. So I try to tell them these things that my father taught me so that I wouldn't do what my father had to do or my stepfather had to do, which is take me to the ER because basically I cut into my finger so bad that it required stitches. So that's the main thing I'm trying to avoid.
Yeah.
But also so that you know how to cut things later in life and you don't end up in the ER. You don't hold the bagel in your hand when you cut it. You don't do all the...
I mean, I can see my grandmother right now. She always held it in her hand and went, never cut them this way.
Yeah, I was thinking, don't do what I'm doing.
Right, but she did it every time.
Somebody here said, and this is true, if you're at a bar and no one is drinking draft beer and they're drinking the cans or bottles, because the taps have not been cleaned.
That is especially if you go someplace where you know what beers get poured in certain bars if you go into those bars.
Sure.
But if you're out of town and you come in, for an example, this is a little bit different now, but ordering a porter or a stout at this time of the year, typically,
yeah,
that stuff's been sitting there since February.
Right.
It just hasn't poured. They haven't changed the keg.
Mm-hmm. So those lines have not been.
That line is still sitting there, and that line is stagnant. And they probably haven't poured one in maybe 2 to 3 weeks.
There was a local bar here that Miles and I would frequent after work. COVID hits, closes down for a bit, and they open for what, like maybe a week, some point in there. And we rolled in, and I got to put in my usual order, and the bartender who we're familiar with says, guys, don't get draft beer. We've been shut down for 9 months. No one's cleaned the taps.
Oh yeah,
but he didn't say that to everybody because some people had draft beers. He's like, I don't want to do this to you. So he's like, just get a bottle. I'll pour you whatever booze. But he's like, if you guys want beer, man, I will give you bottles. I will not pour you one out of these taps because they've been closed for 8 months. And he's like, and I got here earlier today to open the place up. He's like, I wouldn't do it. And I'm like, damn, man, if you're telling me that, okay, sell it. Somebody here
that's
says,
a very unique smell too. Those cheese snakes.
Yeah, man, it's. It might turn you off from beer if you've never experienced that. And someone here says, I'm a garbage man. Please bag your garbage. Don't just dump it in the can.
I agree with that. Because that's how, even with the birds can get in, the crows are kind of smart. Yeah. They can peck through the bag. But for the most, if it's just not in there laying around.
Sure.
You know, it's a disaster. I'll say, here's a couple other ones, just from people that I know who've worked in different industries. As far as the hotel industry, if you're going to use the ice machine, only use that to keep things cold. Mm-hmm. Do not use the ice in your glass. Do not, first of all, use the glass unless it's wrapped in plastic. Then do not put that ice in there. And don't pour a soda into the glass with ice. I mean, it might be the worst thing you could possibly do. If you've ever seen some of the, quote unquote, mold issues that happen in these ice machines.
Oh my God.
Yeah. They are very, very rarely cleaned. So they are so cleaned in restaurants than a hotel room is just, it's completely different. So they highly suggest you don't use that ice.
Yeah, I mean, restaurants are fine, but restaurants, you get visited by the health department. They'll surprise visit you. It behooves you to try to run a somewhat decent business, right? And that's your bread and butter. And, depending how the health department has judged your cleanliness, you got to post that sticker in your window.
Correct.
You know what I mean? So, most restaurants are like, you don't want the negative sticker. A hotel chain, if I'm part of the health department, I mean, maybe I check out what they're doing in their kitchen, but I'm not looking at their ice machine. I'm not testing the glasses in the room where people are masturbating and fumbling around with the remote control and all that stuff, man.
I walked in today and I walked by a restaurant that I've walked by millions of times. I've never been in there before. Always just curious because it's Chinese food. I'm a fan, whatever. The door says, hazardous material inside, do not enter without proper protective gear.
Wait, this is at a restaurant?
It's at a restaurant. The door is closed. It doesn't say shut down by the health department. Right. It doesn't say closed, be back soon.
Right.
It says you need a hazmat suit if you walk in to this place for any reason whatsoever.
Have I even?
God, I hope not.
Oh, no.
But it's down on.
I have not eaten there, no.
It's a big. Do you know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The sign on the door will scare the living hell out of you. I walked by there today and I was like, I walked up the steps to read the damn thing. And then I stood back from the door once I realized what it said.
Jesus,
I was like, because it was open not too long ago.
Yeah.
Which means, golly.
What was that, 10 years ago? One of the newspapers put out a list of, the dirtiest restaurants.
Yeah.
So I'm talking with my buddy. We're, having a beer, and he's like, oh, let me see the list. And he's like, oh, man, I eat there every day. And he's just, going down the list.
Oh, no.
It was, his 5 favorite restaurants. If I'm not mistaken, there's a teriyaki place right across from our old building that was, the number 3
It was
dirtiest place.
number one.
Number one.
Was it number one?
It was number one.
Number one.
God, I love eating there, though,
and when
too.
that came out, when that issue or that city paper came out that day.
Yeah.
They were over there with bleach. You could smell the bleach across the street. They were scrubbing that place. They were doing the windows. They were doing every single thing that they could. And it had nothing to do with any of that. It was all in the back of the house behind the curtain.
That ain't a bunch of windows.
It's how you store the food, all these other things.
Why are there whiskers in your wontons? You know what I mean? Stuff like that.
I'm with Mike, though. I still went. It was great. They had great yakisoba over there, man. I loved it.
That's the problem. It was good.
And
I'm the dirt might be what's contributing to this taste, man.
I think the worse the front of the place looks, the better the food half the time.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in a town that you don't know. The old dirty diner whatever it is, that's where you want to eat.
Yes.
I mean, for breakfast.
Because despite looking like a pile of garbage, it's still up and operating. That means they're doing something right.
And there's people in there. So that is definitely a pro tip. You're out of town, man, and you see like a little divey-looking restaurant, probably some of the best food you're going to get.
Oh, yeah, without question.
I truly believe it, because it's been in that city for 80 years, owned by the same family. I'll also say this, now it might turn you off a little bit, but this is definitely true in New Orleans. If you look in the kitchen, and the cook is actively smoking a cigarette while preparing your food, that food's going to be real good.
See, and in my travels...
it's going to be so good. Like, you're not supposed to do that, but New Orleans, this is kind of like, we wish you wouldn't.
Well, they normally keep the door open in the back because it gets so hot in there. So
and you see the cooks, man. One, if any cook in New Orleans has sleeves on, don't trust them. That's like a kid who just got a culinary school. But the guy who's sleeveless, has a cigarette in his mouth, and weighs about 108 pounds, despite the fact that he's 6'5", like... Brother's about to hook you up with some of the best food you've ever eaten.
One of the restaurants that we went to is one of the most classic, best oyster places in New Orleans.
All right.
And just like anything else, with the way that oysters work in the Gulf of Mexico, they're not available all year round like they are here because the water's not cold. So they shut down for 4 or 5, 6 months. So they're only open like half the year. It's one of these places. To get to the this house is so old. To get to the bathroom, you walk through the kitchen. Now, there's 3 dudes in there cooking. You walk between them. One guy's like doing frying pan stuff. Somebody else is working another station doing like the deep fryers and everything else. You are literally ice skating, like skiing through these old wood floors that are covered in a layer of grease that will never go away. I mean, it's tough just to keep your balance, and you're kind of sliding through. You're not trying to interfere with them. They're actively making people food in the restaurant. You're weaving your way in between them like, it's not Goodfellas, it's a tiny-ass little kitchen. And then you get into the bathroom, and you got to like push the mop bucket aside.
Right.
So that you can get close enough to the toilet, which has got a can of Ajax on top. And there's a rag to dry your hands off. There's not even paper towel.
But everyone has used that rag. Like, there's a rag.
It's a towel, like a hand towel. It's a freaking hand towel.
And it's damp, right?
How moist is that thing when you grab it?
It's moist because of the humidity.
Or people. It's hard to know.
Right. Best
like
food
the
you ever
walls
had.
are always sweating. The windows are always wet. The toilet, man, like all the porcelain's been rubbed down. But you're right. Like, in spite of all of that, you know, the best meal you've ever eaten.
It would be one of the top places you recommend for somebody to go. You'd say, hey, if you're going to New Orleans, you're going to the Garden District, go to this place. It's fantastic. They got one of the best soft shell crab sandwiches you ever eat in your life.
About to say, what's the thing that you have to get when you go there is the thing?
Oysters, and I think if you like soft shell crab sandwiches, I mean, if you're not grossed out by the legs
hanging out,
crab hanging off a piece of bread, you're good to go.
Damn, somebody here says, lived in Hawaii for a bit, ordered Chinese one night. 2 days later, they were shut down for serving cat.
Oh,
get out of here.
No.
Mm-hmm. So you ate cat, man. Yeah, no, you did.
I wonder.
See, that's another thing I would say real quick. If you're out of town, especially looking for restaurants, you have a hankering for like Chinese or Mexican. If you look in there, and a lot of the clientele is Chinese or Mexican, that's the place you want to go. Seriously, man. Like, half the time we'll make a decision. I'm like, it says it's a Mexican restaurant. Everyone in there eating is Mexican. That means it's probably good, right?
I've also heard
if you go to a soul food restaurant and it's located in the suburbs, maybe it's good. I would just recommend you go to a soul food joint in the city. That's just me.
Hello, sir. Welcome to our soul food restaurant.
Right, exactly. Like, no, I don't want what you're serving, man.
Also, we put a little bit of flavor in everything.
Go to a bar. I've always been told, and get a drink, a different bar than the hotel you're staying in. Get a drink. Ask a couple of bartenders for suggestions on the food locally. So instead, don't ever trust the concierge. They have a hidden agenda. A lot of the time,
they get hooked up by other places for recommending it, right?
They do. It's not that they don't have basic concept ideas. So they will tell you, go to this one place. For a steak, they'll give you the generic steak place. But they will not tell you the gems. They will not tell you the places where you could really get some good stuff. So they always say, go talk to a bartender. They know the town. They know everybody. They will hook you up with exactly what you're looking for.
And that includes drugs. I mean, look, I'm not going to lie to you, man. You go to a city and, if you're looking like, man, I want to buy some weed, whatever you might be into, your bartenders at least know where you can get it. And I have found once you make friends with that bartender, like, they'll make the call for you.
Sure.
You good for the cash? I got the cash right here. Can you hang out for 20 minutes? Because I know a guy. Seriously, man. They show
Gee,
up.
what can I do in a bar for 20 minutes while I wait?
Yeah, look, Miles and I, we were in L.A., right, a couple years ago, and we just wanted to get some weed. So Miles just immediately starts talking to these people, this particular bar we would go to. And the
owner is sitting beside me. I don't know that this is. I don't know this is the owner. I don't know he's the owner. I'm just talking to probably his daughter.
Yeah, I think
family run
kind
of thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or daughter-in-law. Something. Somehow related. Yeah. I don't realize he owns the bar we're sitting in. He slowly gets up. He gets into his Lincoln Town Car, and he drives away. All right, whatever. Well, at this point in time, I'm outside smoking a cigarette. He pulls back up. He's got two little yippy dogs in the front seat in their own little dog bed.
He's that guy.
In the front seat.
He's got money.
Of this Lincoln. And he leans over and he's like, motions for me to come over. And I'm like, oh, God. It's the guy who was sitting beside me. I didn't know that. You know, I didn't know this guy at first. And he goes, put out your hand, man. I put out my hand. He dropped the stinkiest nug in my hand.
Right.
This Armenian dude had the best weed I have ever smelled. We got so stoned. Also, here's a pro tip for finding weed if you are in, say, a Caribbean nation or another country. Even if you do not need to take a cab ride somewhere,
take a cab.
Take a cab, even if it's just around the block. You will definitely be able to find weed. I was in Puerto Rico for 6 days looking for weed. I went to some really, really bad areas of Old San Juan that you probably shouldn't be in if you're not from the area or don't live there, looking for weed. Could not find anything there because, again, I think they think, how dumb is this guy? This has got to be a setup. Either way, I get in the cab to go back to the hotel room. Guy's like, hey, man, what do you think so far? I'm like, doing good, man. Just exhausted trying to find weed. He's like, I got weed, man. He's like, how much do you want? I'm like, I'm leaving tomorrow morning. So, of course, I say, okay, I just need a little bit. And for like $10, he gives me the biggest bag of weed I've ever seen. It's so much.
It's always the last day.
It's always the last day, and it's so much more than you could have.
Then you feel bad because you got to leave it.
You got to figure out a way to get rid of this weed, before you're gone.
Now, the guy in Mexico, they call them little pulmonias, like diesel golf cart, but they're like little cabs in Mazatlan. All right, so the guy sees me put out a cigarette before I get in. I'm with my wife, so he looks in the rearview mirror and he's like, "You like it to smoke the marijuana?" I said, I do. So he's like, you want some? Yeah, like $20, whatever. So he goes kind of off-road with us, right? And we're going.
You got to be prepared for that. You might have to take a drive someplace.
So, but he's gunning it. Now, gunning it in one of these is maybe 35 miles an hour. But I remember we go down this residential road, and as I'm looking, because he made a phone call after I said, yeah, I'll buy some weed from you. There's it looks like a family reunion, but it's not quite a family. It's like an outdoor block party kind of thing. And there's all these people. I can see them, farther up the road doing their thing, and he's not slowing down. And I see this woman walking to the edge of the road, all right? We go by her at like 35 miles an hour, but as we go by, she football throws like an old styrofoam Big Mac container kind of thing with rubber bands around it. I mean, directly into this thing, right? I mean, we're just like, and this thing lands in there. He hands it over his shoulder to me. It's full of weed. He's like, oh, yeah, that was my wife. I had to call her. I'm like, your wife? That? He's like, yeah, man, it's my business, So... Jesus. So when my wife gets out of this thing and I'm paying him, he goes, are you interested in any other drugs? I said, I am, man. So I told him what else I might be looking for. He's like, can you be back down here in 20 minutes? I'm like, I sure can. Homeboy came back 20 minutes later. He's got his little pulmonia, pulls over, they do the exchange.
A little styrofoam box.
This was not a styrofoam. This was much less quantity. but it cost me a little more money. I'll put it that way. Yeah, so we hooked up, and then, for the next 2 days, man, I kind of buzz him up.
What pro tip have you learned from life experience? 206-421-ROCK.
This podcast is brought to you by the Washington State Department of Health. When we think about the COVID-19 vaccine hesitancy in the Black community, let's remember, it didn't happen by chance. It's justified in history. But the will to change the narrative is strong today, and our people are lending their voices to the conversation. We're sharing our stories and the reasons that made us choose the vaccine so we can lead the way for others to make a well-informed choice too. To hear our stories, visit hereforuswa.org.
Realtors abide by a code of ethics. This is Article 9 in action. Beth, a first-time homebuyer, knew nothing about the home buying process. except that she wanted to buy a home. But her realtor had the expertise to make sure Beth understood every document, even giving her copies to review with her lawyer so Beth could close on her first home with confidence. Complicated things explained in simple terms. The difference between an agent and a realtor is real. Realtors are members of the National Association of Realtors. That's who we are.
$20 million, $19 million, $6 million. These are all awards recovered for clients of Phillips Law Firm. To win big, you have to fight big. And Phillips Law has been fighting the too-big-to-fail insurance industry for decades. Not every case will have a multi-million-dollar outcome, but Phillips Law will fight just as hard to recover the outcome you deserve. If you or a loved one has been injured in a car accident or on the job, call or click today at 1-800-JUSTICE or visit justiceforyou.com.
Visit Lowe's and take on the Pro Brand Challenge with the new Flex Stacked Lithium battery. More power, longer battery life, and faster charging. Plus, it's compatible with all Flex 24-volt power tools. Right now, the more Flex 24-volt tools you buy, the more you'll save. Get up to $150 off today. Stop by or visit us online and see Flex, exclusively at Lowe's. Valid 5/19 through 7/6. Savings vary based on purchase amount. Exclusive versus National Home Centers for Flex 24-volt. U.S. only.
Take the next step toward the career you want, be it business, cybersecurity, healthcare, or more. UMGC can help you get there. No application fee when you apply by August 31st. Visit umgc.edu, certified to operate by Chev.